1 inch, so it's Boss Yuan. I have heard a lot about you. Xiao Yan had already heard the name of Yuan Tongtian from Wan Laoshan. Immediately, he smiled coldly. Then, he looked behind him and saw a spirited young man standing there. The young man had a short stature, a thin face, and a pair of bright eyes. He looked at Xiao Yan excitedly, as if he wanted to find something good from the latter. You look unfamiliar to me. I have been roaming the capital of chaos for dozens of years, but I have never seen you before. Yuan Tongtian stood in the same spot with a majestic aura. He had a graceful bearing, and his eyes were filled with confusion. He kept scanning Xiao Yan's body, then looked at Wan Laoshan, who was standing behind him. He couldn't help but smile and said, "Old man Wan, why aren't you as arrogant as before?" Wan Laoshan smiled embarrassedly, and his face was filled with embarrassment. Back in Capital of Chaos, he had relied on his loaner. Without any scruples, he stole quite a few rare items from Yuan Tongtian's many trading companies. He caused the latter to be furious. He offered a high price in order to capture him. However, Wan Laoshan's whereabouts were unknown, and he was also very powerful. Ordinary people were not a match for him, and those who were strong were too lazy to provoke this god of plagues. Therefore, the two of them had many divine connections in the past few years, but had no chance of meeting each other. I'm just a nameless junior. It's normal that Boss Yuan doesn't recognize me. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I feel a little guilty in my heart. Xiao Yan wasn't in a hurry to make a move. With Yuan Tongtian's ability, he would definitely have his eyes and ears up ahead. Since he wasn't in a hurry to go and search for treasures, he didn't need to be in a hurry either. Let's not talk about this openly. You can take out the things you obtained from below and we will divide them amongst ourselves. I won't make things difficult for you. Who knows, we might be able to work together and obtain more than half of the treasures of this group. What do you think? Yuan Tongtian chuckled. The temptation in his words was extremely deep. Oh, what's down there? Xiao Yan smiled noncommittally and secretly cared about the person in front of him. Why are you pretending to be stupid, sir? Is there nothing worth remembering for more than an hour? Yuan Tongtian was still smiling. He did not get angry. So it is because of this. I am ashamed to say that I got lost down there. It took me half a day to find my way back. Xiao Yan laughed. Without waiting for Yuan Tongtian to turn hostile, he said coldly, Boss Yuan, you are not going to pursue the treasures of the dark underworld, but you are staring at me here. Won't people laugh at you if this gets out? The treasures of the dark underworld are naturally mine. I also want to obtain the treasures of the dark abyss. Yuan Tongtian smiled disdainfully. A cold light instantly overflowed from his eyes when he looked at Xiao Yan. Does this mean that you want me to make a move? Master, think about it. Yuan Tongtian's strength is unfathomable. Even the leaders of the top 10 gangs might not be a match for him. Seeing that Yuan Tongtian was about to attack, Wan Laoshan was shocked and said in a low voice, Boss Yuan, if you die, no one will take care of the huge Tongtian trading company. Xiao Yan smiled coldly and took a step forward, totally not putting Yuan Tongtian's imposing manner in his eyes. I have lived for so many years, but no one has ever dared to threaten me like this. Yuan Tongtian snorted coldly and said in a low voice, Liang Yer, step back. Father wants to attack me personally? The young man was eager to give it a try, but when he heard Yuan Tongtian's words, he couldn't help but be stunned. You are no match for this man's strength. Yuan Tongtian's eyes were also sharp. The middle-aged man in front of him hadn't even reached the peak of Monarch Emperor yet, but he had a feeling that something wasn't right in his heart. At this critical moment, he naturally wouldn't let his son attack. Hong! As soon as he finished speaking, Yuan Tongtian stepped onto the chain bridge with his sharp feet. His figure was like a ghost as he appeared in front of Xiao Yan in an instant. His fist was like the wind as it shattered the air around him, causing faint sounds to ring out. Xiao Yan's expression did not change. His soul strength had improved significantly compared to before. Yuan Tongtian's every movement was under his watch. Immediately, he shifted his feet slightly and easily dodged Yuan Tongtian's punch. Buzz! Before the wind of the punch disappeared, another sharp palm wind struck the air. It was like a thunder that shook the sky, giving people a sense of oppression. Xiao Yan was just about to make a move to defend himself when he suddenly heard the sound of chains colliding behind him. His mind turned quickly, and he no longer held back. His waist twisted, the origin chi in his body howled, and his 4 limbs moved at the same time. He struck out with his palm, blocking Yuan Tongtian's fierce attack. His other hand moved continuously with his 5 fingers. He actually grabbed the numerous surging origin chains in his palm. No matter how Yuan Tongtian urged it, it did not move at all. One of his legs was lifted. He used his knee to block Yuan Tongtian's hand blade, which was about to slash his waist. In an instant, he blocked all of the latter's attack routes. Old Ghost Yuan, kill him. The matter between us is clear. If you need anything in the future, feel free to come to my Heavenspan Trading Company. Seeing that Xiao Yan had countered all of his attacks, a hint of shock flashed across Yuan Tongtian's eyes. Then, he smiled lightly and said in a clear voice, "Wu." Yuan Laoshan, who was focusing all of his attention on preventing Yuan Tongtian from launching a sneak attack, couldn't help but be startled. He looked at Xiao Yan and Yuan Tongtian, who were entangled in a fight and didn't know what to do for a moment. After Yuan Tongtian, the young man named Yuan Liang also paused for a moment, as if he understood what his father was thinking. After that, he stopped. "What are you hesitating for? He is now tied up by me and cannot escape. As long as you touch his neck with your hand, you will be a distinguished guest of my Tongtian Trading Company in the future." Yuan Tongtian narrowed his eyes, his expression normal. Xiao Yan only had one leg on the ground. When he heard this, he turned his head to the side and glanced at Yuan Laoshan. His eyes were lowered and he did not speak anymore. Yuan Laoshan had lived in Capital of Chaos for so long. Naturally, he was experienced. Immediately, he chuckled and cupped his fists. "Both of you are extraordinary people. Why do you have to look for this old man's misfortune? This old man has lived until now. I will not interfere in the fight between the strong. This kind of thing, the two of you can deal with it yourself. This old man promises that he won't help anyone." As he spoke, Yuan Laoshan slowly retreated. Obviously, he didn't want to be the cannon fodder for the fight between the two of them. "Old thing, there are some things that you can't stay out of." Yuan Liang harumphed coldly and stared at Yuan Laoshan. It seemed like he was going to attack at any time. He was also a peak of Monarch Emperor, but with Yuan Tongtian's strength, he was naturally able to practice the most powerful techniques amongst his peers. "However, don't make things difficult for me, both of you." Yuan Laoshan lowered his head, but his eyes were sparkling. His eyesight was as sharp as Yuan Tongtian's. Up until now, he had yet to see through Xiao Yan's true strength. With his cautiousness, he naturally wouldn't attack easily. "You didn't offend either side. No wonder you are still alive." Yuan Tongtian looked at Yuan Laoshan indifferently, his eyes calm. "Thank you for your compliment, master," Yuan Laoshan said with a bitter smile. If that's the case, Yuan Tongtian let out a cold snort. He didn't want to delay any longer. Without any wind, his sleeve moved. The boundless origin chi in his body whistled out and was about to strike. "Since that's the case, I'll just kill him." Xiao Yan, who had lowered his head and did not speak, suddenly lifted his head and laughed. His arm suddenly exerted strength. Boundless hidden force surged from his palm into Yuan Tongtian's arm. At the same time, his leg, which was standing, suddenly exploded. He kicked the latter's abdomen, sending him flying into the air. Everything happened in a split second. When everyone recovered from their shock, Yuan Tongtian's face was already flushed in the air. "Dad!" Yuan Liang shouted out loudly. He was shocked and angry at the same time. Yuan Laoshan was also shocked. He secretly glanced at Xiao Yan. He felt relieved in his heart. He had made the right bet. "Boss Yuan, you didn't make a move. It's just nonsense. I really can't stand it anymore. I'm sorry." Xiao Yan sneered and stepped lightly on the chain bridge with the tip of his foot. He was about to rush forward. "Ah!" Suddenly, a couple of miserable roars were transmitted from a distance. In the next moment, these cries came to an abrupt stop. There was not the slightest movement. When they heard these cries, the four of them were startled. Xiao Yan was floating in midair, and his brows were tightly knitted as he looked into the distance. He did not know what had happened. Yuan Tongtian had also recovered from his anger. He was stunned for a moment, but he didn't want to cause any trouble for Xiao Yan. His body moved. He had already pulled Yuan Liang towards the source of the voice. Xiao Yan was silent for a moment, then he followed closely behind. Although Yuan Laoshan was shocked in his heart, he had no choice but to follow him. 1 inch what happened up ahead? Yuan Laoshan followed closely behind Xiao Yan. For some reason, his heart was beating fast. That shrill roar just now seemed to have entangled the shadow in his heart, and it couldn't be gotten rid of. He had been roaming the capital of chaos for dozens of years, and he had seen nothing. However, he was stunned by this sudden shout. Xiao Yan's brows tightly knitted together. Spiritual energy surged out from his body in all directions. In the next moment, his facial expression changed drastically. He gritted his teeth and pursed his lips tightly, not saying a word. Yuan Tongtian led his son and rushed forward. His face was filled with shock. The miserable cry just now had clearly shocked him. He had already forgotten about Xiao Yan. Yuan Liang turned his head and looked at Xiao Yan and his father. His eyes were filled with shock. He didn't know what had happened, so he could only follow Yuan Tongtian's lead. Along the way, the few of them remained silent. As they got closer and closer, a strong smell was emitted from afar. This is the smell of blood? A thunder seemed to flash across Wan Laoshan's mind. His nose wrinkled and he immediately smelled it. His expression changed instantly as if he had thought of something. Hiss! Seeing Xiao Yan and Yuan Tongtian stop in their tracks, Wan Laoshan hurriedly looked around. The scene in front of him made him suck in a breath of cold air. Even though he was an iron-blooded man, his heart still trembled when he saw this scene. They are all dead? Yuan Tongtian's son looked around. Both of his legs went weak and he almost fell to the ground. Dozens of people in front of him were lying in pools of blood. The dark red blood had dyed the ground red. Everyone looked terrified and their eyes were wide open, as if they had seen something terrifying before their death. Elder Song. Yuan Tongtian's footsteps were heavy. His face was ashen as he walked in the middle of a pile of corpses. At first glance, he saw an old man lying on the ground with his head facing the sky. His eyes were wide open as he looked up. There was a bloody hole the size of a finger on his throat, and fresh blood was flowing out from it. His snow-white beard had been soaked in blood, and he no longer had any breath left. This man was Old Man Song, who had joined hands with Yuan Tongtian and the others to kill the 9 giant dragons. He was an emperor cultivation expert, but he had also died here. Xiao Yan furrowed his brows. He looked around and saw the corpse of the enchanting woman who had reached the emperor cultivation. Her pretty face had turned pale, and her face had lost all color. There was a distance between them in this place. It was obvious that she wanted to escape, but she had lost her life. Brother Zhang. When he saw the corpse of another emperor cultivation warrior, Yuan Tongtian gritted his teeth so hard that they were almost crushed to pieces. Both of his eyes were filled with blood. When he looked around, an indescribable feeling of oppression immediately emerged in his heart. What was going on? How could it cause the death of 3 emperor cultivation warriors in this place? This should be done by one person. Xiao Yan's soul force swept across all the dead people. He lifted his head and spoke slowly. Almost everyone died in the same manner. A bloody hole had appeared in their throats. Other than that, their chests had been penetrated and their life force had completely disappeared. At this strange moment, he could no longer care about the fight between him and Yuan Tongtian. One person? It's the Yin and Yang elders? Or Li Xianfeng? Yuan Tongtian's body trembled. He hastily protected Yuan Liang behind his back. His qi surged out from his body, and he looked around vigilantly. Xiao Yan remained silent, but his heart was filled with doubt. Nearly 100 people had died here, and they could only hear a miserable cry. In other words, the rest of them had been killed by a sneak attack while they were completely unaware of what had happened. They had killed nearly 100 people at once. This method was truly unbelievable. Could it really be Li Xianfeng? Xiao Yan was surprised and bewildered. The former was known as the assassin of the ghost venerable, and his art of assassination was mysterious and unpredictable. With this ability, he could easily kill these monarch emperor warriors, but what was his purpose for doing so? With his dignity as a heavenly sovereign warrior, he wouldn't lower himself to kill so many monarch emperor warriors. As for Xu Yan, Xiao Yan didn't even consider it. Even if the former side had a total of 6 emperor cultivation warriors, it was impossible for them to kill so many people cleanly. Impossible. If Li Xianfeng attacks, it will cause the fury of the entire capital of chaos. It's impossible that he doesn't understand this point. Wan Laoshan recovered from his shock and spoke in a deep voice. He had traveled almost the entire capital of chaos, so he naturally knew some extremely secretive things. Will he let us go if he attacks us? Xiao Yan was silent for a moment before he spoke in a deep voice. In his heart, he had already eliminated Li Xianfeng. The abilities of the people in the future. At that time, they were only half an incense stick of time away from this place. If they wanted to kill him, the two of them would have died without a doubt. Since Yuan Tongtian was able to open the trading company all over Capital of Chaos, he naturally had the ability to do so. When he heard this, he immediately understood. His expression was solemn as he looked at his surroundings. When he saw the tragic death of everyone, he felt a little lucky in his heart. Sir, can you clearly see the death of these people? Even an emperor cultivation was killed by them, and they couldn't even let out a miserable cry. If you meet the murderer, do you have the ability to escape? Yuan Tongtian took a deep breath and spoke in a deep voice. Xiao Yan's eyes paused, and he looked at the place where the emperor cultivation woman was. He guessed that the scream was coming from her. After hearing Yuan Tongtian's words, he smiled and said, Boss Yuan, what you mean is, you have extraordinary abilities. Even I don't have the confidence to defeat you. The situation in front of us is really strange. If we split up, we might die quietly. So, let's work together. After saying that, Yuan Tongtian's eyes sparkled. He looked at Xiao Yan with a solemn expression. There wasn't a trace of a joking expression on his face. Boss Yuan, you don't want my things anymore? Xiao Yan sneered and said with a strange smile. Even if it's good stuff, you still have to live to enjoy it. Yuan Tongtian smiled. His expression was indifferent, and there wasn't any trace of awkwardness on his face. Seeing Yuan Tongtian's reaction, Xiao Yan couldn't help but be speechless in his heart. This man in front of him was indeed a wily old fox that had roamed the capital of chaos for many years. He didn't panic at all when he saw Yuan Tongtian's face. Since it's Boss Yuan's request, I have to give him face. Xiao Yan glanced at the former indifferently and said casually. Unlike Yuan Liang, who was burning with anger, Yuan Tongtian just smiled and then looked around. After a moment of silence, he said, May I know your name? Ji Yu Yan. Xiao Yan remained calm and collected. Brother Ji Yu, what should we do now? Yuan Tongtian nodded his head lightly. Without any doubt, he pointed at the path ahead and spoke in a deep voice. There were two paths in front of them. It was incomparably dark, and no one knew where it led to. Xiao Yan pondered for a moment. He walked forward and stood between the two paths. Just as he was about to use his soul power to investigate, his hair suddenly stood up on his back. There was no time to think. Starlight flickered under his feet, and he had already arrived dozens of steps away. Swoosh! A black shadow was as fast as lightning. Its sharp claws smashed down and shattered the ground where Xiao Yan was standing. Judging from the momentum, if it hit someone's body, even the defense of an emperor cultivation warrior would be torn to pieces. Creak. Seeing Xiao Yan dodge, the black shadow didn't chase after him. Instead, it took out an unknown object and bit down on it. Immediately, a creepy sound was heard. Swoosh. In the next moment, the black figure seemed to have sensed something. It let out a miserable and cold laugh. Its body suddenly flashed and rushed towards one of the paths. Its speed was so fast that it disappeared in an instant. Is it a person? After seeing the true identity of the black shadow, Xiao Yan couldn't help but be stunned. Then, as if he had thought of something, he sucked in a breath of cold air and said, Boss Yuan, did you see what he ate? In the distance, Yuan Tongtian had an ugly expression on his face. He protected his son behind him and his voice was almost squeezed out from the gaps between his teeth. It's a human arm. 1 inch he's eating people. After hearing Yuan Tongtian's words, Yuan Liang couldn't help but exclaim. His face instantly turned pale. Although he was young, he was a decisive man. He had seen a lot of dead people, but he had never seen such a ridiculous thing as eating people. Could it be that there is something ominous in Chaos Blood Cliff? Yuan Tongtian clenched his teeth tightly. His eyes were fixed on the passageway where the black shadow had disappeared, fearing that the latter would suddenly come out. Xiao Yan's expression was solemn. If one were to talk about the inexplicable things that happened in Chaos Blood Cliff, one would have to think of Zhou Tinling. The latter was once a person with the sinner's blood of a great world. Could it be that the things that happened in Chaos Blood Cliff had something to do with him? Right. I once read a scroll that records the strange things that happened in the ancient times in the group of profound sovereigns. It's rumored that there was a period of time when the Chaos Blood Cliff was called the Sinful Blood Cliff, and it was called the Ominous Place. Could it be related to this place? Yuan Tongtian couldn't help but let out a low roar. There was a trace of horror in his tone. Boss Yuan, You are worrying too much. It has been about 1,000,000 years since the ancient times. Even if there is anything ominous about it, it would have disappeared long ago. Could it still be preserved until now? Yuan Laoshan forced a smile and said. However, he was cursing endlessly in his heart. How could this guy talk about such a thing? It made him feel cold all over, but he could only force himself to stay calm. Xiao Yan's eyes were also staring at the intersection where the black shadow had disappeared. For some reason, he suddenly felt a chill in his hands and feet. The way the black shadow looked at him just now was filled with endless hostility. It was the first time in his life that he had seen such a scene. It was as if he was facing mountains of corpses and seas of blood, causing him to feel dizzy. Let's go and take a look. Xiao Yan took a deep breath. In one breath, he let out a soft cry, and his body flashed away, and this strange, evil aura actually gave him a sense of excitement. Madman! Yuan Laoshan's beard were wide open. When he saw that Xiao Yan's figure was gradually being swallowed by the darkness, his expression became miserable. He could only helplessly follow behind. However, in his heart, he had already crazily cursed. Father! Yuan Liang gritted his teeth. He felt that both his legs were trembling. He glanced at Yuan Tongtian, but his heart was still filled with fear. Let's go. I can't stand this kind of scene. How can we talk about achieving great things? Yuan Tongtian had already calmed down. He pulled Yuan Liang and followed closely behind. The black figure just now was heading towards this tunnel. There must be something strange in front of them. It was very likely that it was the place where the treasures of the dark netherworld were located. After around half an incense stick of time, there was finally some faint light in front of this dark tunnel. Everyone was on tenterhooks along the way. They were constantly on guard against the sudden attack of the black figure. Being able to kill so many people in an instant and quietly get rid of them, it naturally did not require much effort. Fortunately, they were all safe and sound. As he was advancing, he suddenly heard a faint, furious cry. Yuan Liang's expression first changed as he slowed his footsteps. It's them again. Xiao Yan frowned, but his footsteps were not slow at all. After a few steps, he stepped out of the dark tunnel. In front of him was a stalactite cave, which was extremely spacious. There were many tunnels around the walls, and it was likely that they were connected to different places. After stepping into the cave, Xiao Yan looked up. There were stalactites on top of his head, and the elder was even several meters tall. There was a mysterious spiritual power on his head, which emitted a little light, illuminating this place as if it was daytime. On the ground below, there was a pool of dense stalactite liquid at the very top, and the fragrance that it emitted caused everyone's spirits to be lifted. Clearly, it was an extraordinary item. In front of the pool was Xu Yan and the others. 6 Emperor cultivation warriors surrounded the pool, blocking everyone's line of sight. Xu young master, you are the representative of Mercenary Alliance after all. The myriad spirit divine milk was discovered by everyone. Is your behavior similar to a bandit's? Among the crowd below, a white-haired old man strode out. His chi sunk into his dantian, and his voice was like a thunderclap that resounded throughout the karst cave, causing everyone to resonate with him. This person is the previous leader of the Heavenly Wolf Gang. His name is Zhang Rongtai. He is not weaker than me. Yuan Laoshan hastily stepped forward and introduced the old man to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan sized up the old man, then shifted his gaze away from him and looked at the people in the square. There were hundreds of people outside the Chaos Blood Cliff, but now they were here. There were actually less than 200 people here. The Yin-Yang elders, Shui Gong, and the others were among them. Xiao Yan sighed in his heart. Suddenly, a thought flashed across his mind. He hurriedly looked at the crowd. Spiritual strength surged out from all over the place, but he did not find any trace of the black shadow person. Immediately, Xiao Yan's expression changed slightly. He had a vague premonition in his heart. Yuan Tongtian, who was beside him, also knitted his thick eyebrows tightly. It was likely that he could not detect the black shadow person's figure. Everyone knows that the 10,000 spirit divine milk is extremely beneficial to cleansing the marrow of one's body. Alliance leader Li wants to improve his divine power and needs such a divine object. I hope that everyone can make it easier for him. I will personally thank all of you after Alliance leader Li's divine power has advanced. Xu Yan let out a loud laugh, and a trace of a cunning look flashed across his eyes. He took a step forward and cupped his fists at everyone, and said with a sincere expression on his face, "Fart your mother's fart. What does Li Xianfeng's cultivation have to do with us? Who cares if he's dead or alive? Others might be afraid of your mercenary alliance, but I, the Bloody Blade sect, am not. As soon as his voice faded, a slightly hoarse roar resounded across the entire scene. A muscular man wearing a brown soft armor strode forward. His eyes were cold, and he held a blood-red broadsword in his hand. The blade of the broadsword was emitting a gurgling smell of blood. It was obvious that he had killed a few people earlier. I will speak nicely to everyone. Who are you? How dare you be so rude? Xu Yan coldly snorted. His expression was dark and furious as he spoke. Your grandfather is the second master of the Blood Knife faction. Shen Jinlong is the second master. You yellow-mouthed bastard, you want to toy with everyone just because of Li Xianfeng? The man let out a wild laugh. He carried the broadsword on his shoulder and showed no signs of fear. His words resonated with the crowd. Even the yin and yang elders who were hiding in the corner had ugly expressions on their faces. A yellow mouth. Xu Yan smiled in a playful manner when he heard this. He opened the folding fan in his hand and stopped the person behind him from attacking. He smiled gently. In the next moment, his body had already charged forward like a sudden gust of wind. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived in front of Shen Jinlong. He extended his left hand and clenched it into a fist. Before Shen Jinlong could react, he had already ruthlessly smashed it forward. Huh? Xiao Yan stood in the distance. He seemed to have sensed something the moment Xu Yan attacked. His eyes stared at the latter's left arm. That feeling was rather strange. Ha! Shen Jinlong was also a peak of Monarch Emperor warrior, and he had plenty of combat experience. Immediately, he let out a furious shout, and the huge blade in his hand slashed down horizontally. He wanted to cut off Xu Yan's arm even if he had to take a punch from the latter. Bang! In the next moment, Shen Jinlong was sent flying backwards while coughing out blood. However, the blood saber had also struck Xu Yan's arm. To everyone's surprise, the blade of the ghost head blood blade, which Shen Jinlong had regarded as a divine blade, cracked open and fell to the ground, producing a crisp sound. Puff! Seeing the ghost head blood knife shatter, Shen Jinlong's blood and qi attacked his heart. With a miserable cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Xu Yan sneered and retracted his hand. He glanced at his arm, which only had his clothes torn apart. He couldn't help but throw his head back and laugh. Back then, he had obtained a drop of blood essence from the profound serene dragon snake. He had used the Mercenary Alliance's unique secret technique to merge this drop of blood essence into his left arm. After which, this arm possessed a defensive strength that was comparable to the profound serene dragon snake. Forget about ordinary spirit weapons. Even a slightly inferior heavenly weapon would not be able to injure his left arm in the slightest. Does everyone have any objections now? After knocking Shen Jinlong out with a palm strike, Xu Yan once again returned to the platform with a bright smile. Although he asked everyone else, his eyes were only fixed on where the yin-yang elders were. Apart from these two, the rest of the people were Emperor Cultivation warriors. He didn't care at all. Shen Jinlong's name was quite well known in Capital of Chaos. When everyone saw him being sent flying by Xu Yan's palm strike, they were all shocked. For a moment, no one responded. Ha ha ha. It's said that the people of Capital of Chaos are unruly and fearless. Today's meeting was just a joke to them. Shu, get your ass down here. Zhou Clan, Zhou Qinghua is here to ask for guidance. After he finished speaking, a handsome middle-aged man stepped out. He wore a green robe and had a calm expression. He looked like a weak scholar. 0 inches Zhou Clan? Their clansmen are here? Someone from the Zhou Clan, one of the 4 great families. Where are the other 3 families? Could it be that all of them have come? Zhou Clan, Mercenary Alliance. Hee, this is going to be fun. Many discussions suddenly sounded the moment Zhou Qinghua stood still. Everyone turned their eyes to the thin scholar in front of them. Most of them did not dare to attack because they were afraid of Li Xianfeng. The former was a member of the Zhou Clan. Given the foundation of the Zhou Clan, it was obvious that Li Xianfeng would not give them any pressure. Zhou Qinghua stood on the spot with his hands behind his back. His face was pale and beardless. He quietly listened to the discussions of the surrounding people. He only smiled gently and did not say a word. His eyes were fixed on Xu Yan and the others. So it's the master of Zhou Clan. This Xu greets you. A trace of hidden murderous aura flashed across Xu Yan's face. After that, He smiled and cupped his hands in a natural manner. Xiao Yan looked over and saw Zhou Qinghua. He couldn't help but recall the image of Zhou Buyi in his mind. From the former, he could vaguely feel that both of them had the same qi. It must be the result of cultivating the same cultivation technique. But this is the capital of chaos. Isn't it a little too arrogant for Sir to order us around here? In the next moment, a cold smile emerged on Xu Yan's face. Like ice, he stared at Zhou Qinghua with two cold lights. Ha ha ha, well said, but Xu, you have to think carefully. This place isn't your mercenary alliance. Whether it's Li Xianfeng or Xu Wanian, none of them are here. Zhou Qinghua laughed loudly, then his voice turned cold. In the end, he shouted out in anger. Get the hell out of my way. This 10,000 spirit divine milk is not for you to get your hands on. The Zhou clan is a big family. Why would they put such a small amount of myriad spirit divine milk in their eyes? Don't make things difficult for me. Xu Yan's face turned gloomy, then he sneered and waved his hand. An old man in gray robe stepped out from behind him. The old man's hair was sparse, but his temples were protruding. A refined qi immediately rushed towards him. The old man's name was Zhang Dingyuan, and he was the hall master of the Mercenary Alliance's art teaching hall. Elder Zhang, I know that you were a guest elder of the Zhou clan. Now, the two of you need to chat a little more. Xu Yan narrowed his eyes and spoke in a calm voice. Oh, you have been a guest elder of the Zhou clan? Zhou Qinghua asked curiously. I'm sorry, it's only been half a year. I have never heard of your reputation in the Zhou clan. May I know which faction you belong to? Zhang Dingyuan cupped his hands and said in a friendly manner. An emperor cultivation level guest elder is indeed useless in the family. As for which branch you are from, I won't trouble you to inquire about it. Zhou Qinghua let out a bright laugh, as if no one else was present. The words he said caused a trace of coldness to flash across Zhang Dingyuan's face. Sir, you are being too arrogant. This isn't your Zhou clan. I have wanted to experience the cultivation technique of the Zhou family for a long time. Please enlighten me. Zhang Dingyuan coldly harumphed. As the hall master of the art teaching hall, countless people wanted to curry favor with him, but now, he was being humiliated like this. As soon as the words left his mouth, it immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. All of them turned to look at Zhou Qinghua, who was standing in front of them. Xiao Yan's heart also shivered. His eyes were intentionally or unintentionally looking at the former. The supreme cultivation technique of Zhou clan, the great cycle evolving art, had already alarmed everyone in Zhou Bai's hands. No one knew to what extent it could be used in Zhou Bai's eyes. I'll see. Zhou Qinghua didn't refuse. He let out a long laugh and took a big step forward. In an instant, his entire body was bursting with energy. His joints were like dragons, and they produced a series of crisp sounds. With every step he took, a deep footprint would appear on the ground. In an instant, he had already taken 5 steps forward, and his qi had also reached the peak of perfection within the 5 steps. Xu Yan's eyes slightly narrowed, and a trace of shock emerged in his heart. He saw that Zhou Qinghua's qi was getting stronger and stronger, but he didn't intend to use his ultimate skill. He didn't know what he wanted to do. All of you, attack together. After pondering for a moment, Xu Yan suddenly shouted. Although the 5 emperor cultivation behind him were shocked when they heard this, they didn't dare to say anything. All of them unleashed their bodies and drew closer to Zhang Dingyuan. I'm waiting for you. Seeing the 6 emperor cultivation warriors coming forward, Zhou Qinghua suddenly burst into a smile. He took the 6th step, and in an instant, the entire karst cave began to shake violently. Under the 5 footprints that he had left behind earlier, spiritual light suddenly rose. Adding the 6th step, a total of 6 rays of green light shot towards the ceiling of the cave. In the next moment, like a rainstorm, they rained down and turned into 6 furious green dragons. In an instant, they engulfed the 6 emperor cultivation warriors below. Great Cycle 6 Dragon Force. Zhou Qinghua retracted his foot, and his voice slowly rang in everyone's ears. His voice was calm, as if he didn't use any energy at all. Boom! 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 At the same moment Zhou Qinghua's voice faded, the 6 furious dragons suddenly exploded. Along with several cries of alarm, the 6 emperor cultivation warriors from the Mercenary Alliance were sent flying backwards, and smashed into the wall in the distance in a miserable manner. Although none of them had suffered any serious injuries, All of them were covered in dirt and had miserable expressions on their faces. He didn't even move his hand and sent 6 Emperor cultivation warriors flying. The cultivation technique of Zhou clan is really overbearing. In the corner, the Yin and Yang elders couldn't help but sigh when they saw this. In their hearts, they were secretly impressed. If they were to attack, although they could do the same, it wouldn't be so easy for them. A trace of coldness flashed across Xu Yan's eyes. He looked at the 6 Emperor cultivation who were struggling to get up in the distance. He couldn't help but feel angry. He gritted his teeth for a moment, then looked at Zhou Qinghua and said with a fake smile, "Lord Zhou is really powerful. This kid admires you. Zhou, you suddenly attacked and injured someone. You are despicable and shameless." Among the 6 Emperor cultivation warriors, one of them suddenly stood up and pointed his finger at Zhou Qinghua. He roared angrily, but what he said made everyone laugh out loud. "Yi, have you been beaten silly? He didn't even move a finger, why did he call for help? You 6 Emperor cultivation warriors ganged up on one of them. Aren't you shameless?" The previous leader of the Heavenly Wolf Gang who spoke just now. Rong Tai sneered. His voice resounded in all directions, causing the crowd to burst into laughter. Yi's face turned red, and the fury in his chest soared. He pointed at Zhou Qinghua for a long time, but he couldn't say a single word. Great cycle evolving art, what a powerful cultivation technique. Yuan Tongtian's voice entered Xiao Yan's ears, and it was filled with envy. This skill could be considered famous in the entire great world, and it was thousands of times stronger than the skill they were cultivating. It's much stronger than when Zhou Buyi casted it. Xiao Yan praised in his heart. The great cycle evolving art included many techniques. This was only one of them, but it was already so powerful in Zhou Qinghua's hands. It was hard to tell what kind of destructive power would be contained in the technique that was called a forbidden technique. Anyone who refuses to accept this can come at me. I, Zhou, will accompany you to the end. Zhou Qinghua still had his hands behind his back, but his chi was different. He looked around casually, and wherever his eyes went, everyone lowered their heads, not daring to look at him in the eyes. Even 6 Emperor cultivation warriors were no match for him, let alone them. Looking at Zhou Qinghua's arrogant expression, Xiao Yan smacked his tongue. Just as his mind was filled with wild thoughts, he suddenly felt a chill on his neck, as if something was dripping down from above. Above the karst cave were countless crisscrossing stalactites, dripping with stalactites from time to time. Xiao Yan did not care and reached out his hand to wipe them off. When he reached out his hand, he accidentally saw the tip of his finger and his expression changed drastically. It was actually bright red blood. Xiao Yan took a deep breath. He took a deep breath and looked up. In an instant, he saw the top of the karst cave. Behind a few thick stalactites, a black shadow was hiding behind. It was biting something and blood fell from the thing it was holding. There were nearly 200 people gathered in the huge karst cave. After Zhou Qinghua defeated the 6 Emperor cultivation warriors from the Mercenary Alliance with a single strike, the place became noisy like a bustling city. Everyone's attention was focused on Xu Yan and Zhou Qinghua. Even experts with the strength of the Yin and Yang elders didn't pay attention to what was happening above. It's a person. When Xiao Yan saw the appearance of the black shadow, he was even more shocked in his heart. In the next moment, it was as if he had thought of something. His soul force surged out and spread across the entire scene without anyone noticing. In an instant, everyone's facial expressions were perfectly reflected in Xiao Yan's mind. Soon, Xiao Yan confirmed his guess in an obscure corner. This guy killed another person in front of so many people without alerting anyone. Xiao Yan involuntarily inhaled a breath of air when he saw the miserable death of the latter. The weakest person who could appear here was at least at the Monarch Emperor. He never expected that he would not even struggle in front of the Black Shadow person. As he thought about it, Xiao Yan stole a glance at the sky once again. Suddenly, his pupils shrank to the size of pinholes. Above the dark sky, a pair of blood-red eyes stared straight at him without any emotion. Xiao Yan's heart trembled. His vision could not help but blur. When he looked over, he saw nothing but darkness. He did not see a single person. He's gone. Xiao Yan couldn't help but take a deep breath. His soul energy once again spread across the scene, trying to find the trace of the Black Shadow. This 10,000 spirit divine milk is a good thing. It can cleanse one's marrow and make one's entire body bright. I can't believe there's such a pond here. It's really rare. Zhou Qinghua let out a bright laugh. He slowly walked forward and took a look at Xu Yan. After that, he arrived in front of the pool of myriad spirit divine milk. When he saw the milky white liquid, he couldn't help but feel delighted. Your strength is profound and shocking, but this myriad spirit divine milk. Hee, it's also a good thing. You can't keep it all to yourself. Seeing that Zhou Qinghua was about to take away a pond of myriad spirit divine milk, the yin-yang elders couldn't hold it any longer and immediately jumped out and shouted. Both of you are famous in the capital of chaos. You are both very strong, and you don't have to fear anything. Of course, I have to give both of you some face. A trace of coldness flashed across Zhou Qinghua's eyes. After that, he laughed out loud and cupped his fists towards the yin-yang elders. His words were filled with sarcasm. There is nothing to fear. Hee. Indeed, most of the people had a mocking expression on their faces. When Xu Yan was being arrogant just now, these two had curled up in a corner and did not make a move. This involuntarily caused one to doubt the strength of these two people. In that case, thank you very much. The yin-yang elders were not angry. They cupped their hands towards Zhou Qinghua and smiled faintly. Their actions were surprisingly the same. Seeing the yin and yang elders walking towards the spirit liquid pool, a commotion couldn't help but break out below. Each of their eyes revealed a trace of greed. They were all thinking of getting a piece of the pie from the pool. However, Zhou Qinghua, the yin-yang elders, Xu Yan and the others were in front of them. Everyone was terrified of the abilities of the three major powers, and for a moment, the clamorous noise could be heard without stopping. However, none of them wanted to make a move. Lord Gu, the value of this pool of myriad spirit divine milk isn't lower than the dragon beard azure spirit ginseng. Could it be that Lord doesn't have any thoughts? Yuan Laoshan couldn't restrain the burning desire in his heart, but with his ability, he absolutely had no fate with the myriad spirit divine milk. Immediately, his eyes rolled as he moved closer to Xiao Yan and whispered in his ear. Xiao Yan narrowed his eyes and spread his soul energy across the entire scene. Yuan Laoshan's words suddenly rang in his ears. He only shook his head and didn't say anything, but his expression was unusually solemn. Seeing that Xiao Yan seemed to ignore the myriad spirit divine milk, although Yuan Laoshan was so angry that his teeth itched, he couldn't do anything about it. He fiercely glared at Xiao Yan before retreating helplessly. However, he was secretly calculating in his heart. He turned his gaze to Yuan Tongtian, who was standing beside him. Boss Yuan, if we don't make a move now, we won't have a chance anymore. Seeing Yuan Tongtian staring at the pool of spiritual liquid with glowing eyes, Yuan Laoshan was secretly delighted in his heart. He pretended to be indifferent and said in a soft voice. Yuan Tongtian could not help but narrow his eyes when he heard this. His gaze swept across everyone present. He let out a soft snort and was about to step forward. Swoosh! Xiao Yan's narrowed eyes suddenly opened. His gaze was like a sharp sword as he instantly looked towards a corner of the karst cave. There were two middle-aged men standing there. In just an instant, they had quietly collapsed. That mysterious person had attacked. As Xiao Yan's gaze swept over, he could only see a black shadow flashing by. Only two corpses were left on the ground. Their hearts had been emptied, and they had completely lost their qi. The surrounding people had all focused their attention on the front, totally unaware of their deaths. Don't move! Just as Yuan Tongtian was about to step forward, Xiao Yan suddenly stopped him, and his deep voice rang in his ears. What's wrong? Seeing this, Yuan Tongtian retracted his foot without hesitation, and his mind instantly withdrew from the 10,000 spirit divine milk. At the same time, his mind became alert. Seeing Yuan Tongtian's reaction, Xiao Yan couldn't help but praise in his heart. His voice was still as deep as before. That man has attacked. Is he here? Yuan Tongtian felt his scalp tingle, and a chill ran down his spine. However, his expression didn't change. He stepped forward, blocking Yuan Liang behind him. The origin qi in his body seethed as he prepared to attack. There are so many powerful experts here. I can't believe that guy still dares to attack. Does he want to kill everyone here? Yuan Tongtian inhaled a deep breath of air when he recalled the miserable scene that he had just witnessed. He muttered to himself. Xiao Yan did not comment. His spiritual strength continued to surge out like floodwater, slowly covering the top of the karst cave. After meeting Zhou Tinling, his spiritual strength seemed to have become much stronger than before. The cultivation technique of Zhou clan is truly amazing. We have finally seen it. Zhou Qinghua gave away some myriad spirit divine milk. The yin and yang elders also went forward to flatter the former. Upon hearing this, Shu Yan furrowed his brows. Young master, Ke Yi and the other three stepped forward. They were just about to speak when Shu Yan reached out his hand to block them. The latter glanced at Zhou Qinghua and the yin and yang elders indifferently and cupped his hands. I am here on the orders of Li Xianfeng. He really likes this myriad spirit divine milk. Therefore, even if all 7 of us die, we still have to bring some back with us. After saying that, Shu Yan stared at Zhou Qinghua. The threat in his words was obvious. Zhou Qinghua raised his brows and snorted coldly. Just as he was about to speak, his expression suddenly changed. His eyes immediately turned to a corner of the karst cave. There was a slight miserable cry coming from that corner. Although the whispers in the cave were very noisy, this strange and miserable cry was extremely loud and clear to his ears. Who is it? In the blink of an eye, a black figure flashed past. Zhou Qinghua was startled. He ignored the attention of Shu Yan and the others and shouted. A terrifying qi erupted from his body, and he had reached the peak of emperor cultivation. The people of Zhou clan have also discovered it. Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows. He was extremely vigilant in his heart. In just a short period of time, 8 people had died. If it wasn't for the last monarch emperor screaming with all his strength, perhaps even more people would have died. Who are you? Let's see where you can hide. Zhou Qinghua furiously shouted. His entire body emitted a powerful aura. Boundless origin qi surged out from his body and covered the entire karst cave in an instant. In the next moment, an ear-piercing cry sounded. A black figure descended from above with lightning-like speed and attacked Zhou Qinghua. Almost everyone who passed by screamed and fell to the ground. Who are you? The few people who were still in shock were shocked when they saw that someone had really attacked them. When they saw the strength displayed by the black figure, their expressions changed slightly. These people had experienced a bloody storm in the capital of chaos. They did not expect that they would be like paper in the hands of this person. They did not even have the slightest strength to resist. Hiss! Hiss! A snake-like sound was transmitted over. Following the cries of the crowd, the black figure suddenly rushed over. His body flashed in a strange manner, and he dodged the explosive attack that came from Zhou Qinghua's feet. He bent his 5 fingers and actually penetrated the neck of an emperor cultivation behind Shu Yan. His technique was exactly the same as what Xiao Yan and the others had seen on the outside.